Welcome back, Truth Seeker. Wednesday, December 19th, 2018. 44 years ago today, Nelson A. Rockefeller, the member of the powerful oil and banking family, the Rockefeller family, was sworn in as the 41st vice president. This was after the resignation of Richard Nixon and much of his administration, replaced by Gerald Ford. If you've never seen my work on Richard Nixon's resignation by the numbers, definitely check that out. Earlier this year, we had the confirmation process of Brett Kavanaugh, the Supreme Court Justice. He had the accuser, Christine Blasey Ford. That whole scripted dramatic production, whatever you want to call it, was very much in tribute to the resignation of Richard Nixon and him being replaced by Gerald Ford. That works in my book, still up on the YouTube channel. Definitely check that out. Very important stuff you can wake your friends and family up with. So, what's so interesting about the date Nelson Rockefeller was sworn in? Well, of course, in the land of the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, which is Washington, D.C., again, the city named after the Scottish Rite Freemason George Washington, it was only so fitting that Mr. Rockefeller was sworn in on his 165th day of his age. Scottish Rite, of course, equals 165. I could also point out that his birthday, July 8th, that date's written 7/8 in the United States. Scottish Rite also has Gematria of 78. There's also something very interesting about the name Rockefeller. Look how it overlaps with Washington, D.C. in 3 of the 4 base ciphers. How perfect. So that was on this day in history. There's many more interesting things that happen on this day, but always good to point out the shenanigans with the Rockefeller family. That's a family that lives and dies by the numbers throughout history. So today, big headlines. Federal Reserve raised interest rates for the 4th time. Now, if you have a few dollars in the bank, instead of getting 5 cents back, you might get 6 cents back. But this 4th raise of the year, which was a raise by 1/4 of a point, 4th raise, 1/4 of a point, comes just before the anniversary of the establishment of the Federal Reserve. But I want to show you what happened to the market. The market was having a good day until the news came out. And, market was up, and then boom, it came crashing down as soon as the announcement about the interest rate, which was very predictable. So looks like the market's going to close down about 300 points for the day, and the reason why will be the rising interest rates. All of these things happening at once that make markets stagnant, and not by accident, but by design. Why else would the government be, tampering with tariffs and taxes and interest rates and starting trade wars? I mean, why? What kind of common sense is this? What kind of leadership is this? Just all part of the big mockery. Donald Trump, the anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall, the Trump card, House of Cards. You got to be blind not to see what's going on. Another story today that gave me a laugh, speaking of the Scottish Rite, was Paul Ryan, who had his father murdered for his political career, things we've covered in the past. Look up the murder of Paul Ryan's father. It was for his scripted political career. People like Joe Biden had to give up their whole families. See my work on the murder of Joe Biden's family for his political career. These are who our elected officials are. So anyway, from Paul Ryan's 48th birthday to his farewell speech today, he says he's not going to run again, 325 days. And what's that remind you of? How about the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, 325? How perfect. He's 48 years old. He took office at the young age of 28, Freemason 48, Mason 28. Not hard to see why Paul Ryan gave his farewell speech today. Again, this is how everything's done in Washington, D.C. Another top headline today, Trump orders troops from Syria in apparent reversal. Well, the thing is, they're not going to have to go too far. The United States has only built about 1,000 bases on the border of Syria and Iraq. So, they're probably just going to have to move a few miles, and then they can say they're out of Syria. The drones will be still patrolling the sky. So it's more of a symbolic move. What's interesting about this news coming on a Wednesday is Wednesday is the day of the week that has the 44 Gematria, like military, like infantry, like soldier, like trooper, like officer. Also, like how Donald Trump's the 44th person to be president. He is number 45, but only the 44th person. If you were following me when he was creating his cabinet before he took office, he hired a lot of 44-year-olds. He got the 44-year veteran of the Marines, Mad Dog Mattis. Mad Dog equals 44. Mattis equals 44. Secretary of Defense equals 193, which is the 44th prime. Go figure. It's a war move today. Today has a life lesson number of 42. War equals 42. So does World War. So does Freemason, for the record. It's also a date with 49 numerology. Washington, 49. America, 49. Donald J. Trump, 49. That's how he signs his author name, the middle initial. I noticed that from Trump's birthday to today, spanned 27 weeks from his 72nd birthday. Syria, 27. You know what else is 72? Syria, if you just use the alphabetic order. I said to do that real quick in my head. I was like, Syria 72 also? It is. So a good day for this big Syria move on his 27th week of being 72. Again, every war from the time of the American Revolution up to the present, every move in every war, every story that gets reported in the history books, it's this way. All of them. Shows you that they're all needless. They're all ritual. And they are. For the record, today, another war-related story in the media. Benjamin Netanyahu comes out and says Hezbollah has committed an act of war, digging a tunnel that goes under Israel's border. Act of war, in our most pure ciphers, 33 like Masonry. Act of war, when you flip the alphabetic order around, is 48 like Freemason. Hezbollah also sums to 44 like military, like Israel, like Zion, like Netanyahu. Israel, absolutely a military nation, a terrorist nation. Ashkenazis, you know. Only they can put people in internment camps and starve them and thirst them and murder them. Only the Ashkenazis can do it and get away with it. Also interesting, from Bashar al-Assad's birthday on September 11th to today is 99 days later, and the United States of America is 99. And what is 9 times 11 anyway? 99? Whoa. That was crazy. I don't know if I just came through the mic. It sounded like my roof just broke. Anyway, I'll always remind people, go back and watch the conference at the Arab League, which was formed in history on March 22nd, 322 in 1945 after the Second World War. When Gaddafi was still alive, he gave a speech after the murder of Saddam Hussein. And he said, you know, Saddam Hussein just got his nation wrongfully invaded, wrongfully murdered. And he said, any of us could be next. And it ended up being Gaddafi himself, you know, stomped to death with the guys in the NATO boots. But if you go back and watch that conference, which is still on YouTube, the camera keeps zooming in on Bashar al-Assad. It's like the cameraman knows who else is next. There's several men in the room, but the camera just keeps going from Gaddafi to Assad over and over and over. And Assad's laughing the whole time. I mean, like, what's wrong with this guy? Why is he laughing? You know, Gaddafi's talking about a serious matter, people getting murdered, how they could be next. And then the camera keeps zooming in on al-Assad. And every time it zooms in on him, he's just laughing and chuckling like there's jokes being told. And really, I think it is because the whole thing's a joke, you know? Again, the Arab League formed March 22nd. Reminder, who runs the show? 322. New World Order, puppets across the globe. So interesting how he has the September 11th birthday and how today lines up so nicely with the United States of America withdrawing. The day we sent troops there was September 22nd, 2014. From that day to today is 221 weeks and 2 days. The 221 weeks jumps out because the Bavarian Illuminati equals 221, and they were established May 1st, 1776, a date with 99 numerology. Go figure. Go figure. Here was another headline this morning. Van Jones, prison reform is here thanks to Kim Kardashian. Thought, oh, really? Let me see how this story lines up today. So from Kim Kardashian's birthday to today is 59 days later. Her name happens to have Gematria 59, like Freemasonry in Hebrew and English. Today's date also has the life lesson number of 42. We know how 42 and 59 are coded all over Black history. And when you think of U.S. prisons, you can think about a disproportionate amount of young Black men filling up those prison cells. 42, 59. The other thing about being a prisoner is it does make you a slave. You lose your rights. You have to work for slave wages, pretty much nothing. Don't forget the word slavery is 42 and the word slave is 59. So the story is that this is going to free about 50,000 U.S. prisoners. I mean, in one sense, you could say that is a lot of people, 50,000. We'll see if it really happens. You know, a lot of these stories are just complete BS, symbolic. Something changes, the follow through never happens. It's like a phony celebration of nothing. But at the same time, 50,000 out of the many people that are incarcerated in this nation, millions, it's a very small percentage. You know, you guys haven't ever heard what I said before. I think all prisoners should be freed, every last one, even the craziest psychopaths. And I don't think it's right for anybody to be behind bars. I think, you know, what's a more fair form of punishment is, look, if you're a crazy psychopath, rather than rot behind bars and have people pay a tax, you know, portion to feed you for the rest of your purposeless life, you know, I think it's better to just sort things out the old way. You know what I mean? It doesn't need to be a public execution, but to me, it makes a lot more sense. If you're just going to pay for somebody to rot behind bars their whole life, you might as well just get rid of them. You know, I think the world would be a lot better if we just had street justice. Keep a gun around, protect yourself. There's someone crazy who's a threat to you, get rid of them. Most people aren't murderers unless they need to defend themselves. And this whole prison society doesn't help anything. Not at all. So anyway, a few thoughts there. They called this the first step deck, Gematria of 156. When you write out 33, it equals 156. The name Kim's 33, like federal. Also, I guess this meeting here with Kim Kardashian and Donald Trump, who had his big smirk grin on his face that day too. That was May 30th, right? And Kim Kardashian said she was inspired by this woman, Alice Marie Johnson. That happened to be her birthday. She turned 63 years old that day. And again, we see this number all the time with racism. You know, talked about this with Bill Cosby, the feds opening up the Emmett Till case after 63 years, and a number of other stories. You know, and again, the numbers of racism coded right into this story, 42 and 59. Don't forget Negro equals 59 and the N-word equals 42. So, story looks like phony symbolism to me. Here's another good one in the headlines. New York Times, Facebook gave some firms ability to read users' messages. And the firms mentioned include Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Netflix, and Spotify. I'm sure the list is a whole lot more. Again, Facebook, all of these social media giants, they're collecting our information. They're giving it to the government. They're giving it to the feds. This information's been out for a long time. It is the true purpose of these things, you know. We are in the age of information collection. And remember, when Facebook was a relatively newer platform and in its infancy, it was the same time our government was debating if these giant companies had the right to collect our information and save it. and do what they will with it, including share it with the government. And how did our government vote? They voted for immunity for these companies so they couldn't be prosecuted for violating our constitutional rights. The Constitution is not in effect anywhere on the internet. You know, we're not protected from search and seizure, which is essentially what all of this is. Taking our information, giving it to the government, giving it to companies. This is the problem with the internet age. You know, there's really not any privacy when you're using the internet. All of your information is going somewhere. So things to think about. I notice Ebola's back. Seen a couple of Ebola stories in recent months. Don't forget how they got rid of the native population. Chemical warfare. Someday I wonder, you know, those Georgia Guidestones are out there, March 22nd, 1980. Georgia Guidestones, they said, maintain the Earth's population at 500 million. Again, if we're really at 7 billion, that means 13 out of 14 people would have to die. How are they going to get there? Could it be biological warfare? Sometimes I wonder about those planes up in the sky spraying all that crap. What if one day they put in the lethal dose and it rained down on us? And the next thing, there was a mass outbreak of, who knows, Ebola. What else have they scared us with? You know, Zika. It could happen. You know, I don't say live in fear, but I just say, you know, be aware. We have Walter Reed, where they've got all the infectious diseases that can wipe out humanity on ice. Military's a killing machine. Walter Reed's a military facility. Could it ever be unleashed on us? Sometimes I think they constantly remind us about these little stories. Just, you know, this could be you someday. But 319 people, curious number to use. Killing 319, Masonic, Lucifer. Prince had that song about 319. He died 319 days after his birthday. Can you guys believe that phone call I had the other day with that lady who worked for the, I think she worked for CBS or NBC in New York. She hadn't heard of Prince. She hadn't heard of anything that I brought up. But then when she hadn't heard of Prince, I was like, wow. I thought everybody knew who Prince was. For the record, Ebola outbreak also sums to 223, the big Masonic number, the synagogue of Satan. They said that 271 of the 319 believed dead had been confirmed. 271, we talk about this number almost every day, don't we? 271, the 58th prime. Freemasonry, 58. Secret Society, 58. It's happened in North Kivu, Gematria, 48, like Freemason, like Illuminati. 223, the 48th prime. An Ebola outbreak in North Kivu, 48. The story also broke yesterday. Date with 48 numerology. Go figure. Go figure. Here was another story that jumped out yesterday, December 18, 2018. This headline emerged. George H.W. Bush secretly sponsored a child for 10 years. Of course, yesterday had a life lesson number of 41, right? Where this story is really trying to tell us here. Reminds me of, you ever seen that movie with Jack Nicholson? He's an old man. He wants to get rid of his wife. He has this pen pal. He writes some letters about everything wrong in his life. I think the boy's name's like Indugo. Dear Indugu. That movie's kind of funny. I haven't seen it for a long time. But anyway, date with 41 numerology. Another story about 41. Probably just completely made up crap, you know, to get more sympathy for this horrible human being. They say the day he began sponsoring him, January 24th, 2002. Let's do the date numerology together. 1 plus 24 is 25, plus 20 more is 45, plus 02 is 47. Like how president's 47. At the time he was 77 years old. DC, the land of 47 and 77. The boy's name apparently was Timothy. Probably a whole lot coded here. Timothy with the alphabetic order sums to 110 like president. Date with the 135 numerology like Central Intelligence Agency. I'm sure there's a whole lot there. I didn't go to town on it. I saw the 41 thing and I said, okay, that's enough. I see where this news is coming from. Skull and bones, don't forget it, equals 41. CNN got numerological today. They like to do it a lot. 19 things to look forward to in 2019. The list includes hope for the opioid crisis. I wonder what perspective the government has on this, Government that funnels drugs, incarcerates people who are addicts, makes money both ways. Funneling the drugs, incarcerating people. Pharmaceutical companies, we the taxpayers pay for the pharmaceutical drug research. Once it's researched and developed, it's given to the pharmaceutical companies who then charge us a fortune. Just think about it. That's the way it works in this nation. We pay for the research and development, then it's handed over to corporations, and then they charge us absurd amounts to take the drugs. And then we tell people, oh, communism's so bad. It's like, what kind of nation are we? We're the worst kind. We're a fascist nation, We are fascism, the worst form of government. The merger of corporation and government for human exploitation. All government, if you ask me, is bad. It's all about the mind control. It's all about the control. Are you guys so excited for another royal baby? Woo, that's going to make my 2019. 3D printed everything. Oh, getting so excited for 2019 already. 2 solar eclipses. I have to look into those. It's the first interesting thing I've seen. The Women's World Cup. I'll just keep my mouth shut. Significant historical milestones. Wow. How great. A public domain year? Oh, a transition of power in Japan. Can't wait to look forward to that. 100. This is one of the top 10 things a video game tournament. Man, I guess there's not much to look forward to. The Grand Canyon as a national park turns 100 years old. Should research what fault line runs along there. Of course, San Andreas isn't too far away. Watch out for that one. I'm going to look into that. That could be interesting. What day it was established as a national park. A massive Disney takeover at the movies. Wow. Can't wait. New Star Wars themes at Disney. Wow. The year of the periodic table. What are we getting? Some new man-made compounds? You guys ever done the Gematria, the periodic table? A lot of interesting things there. Try periodic and periodic table. See what you find. Don't forget to write out arsenic, the 33rd element. See what you find. One that's used to kill people. The end of Game of Thrones and new TV shows. Some good books. No, some good books comes very secondary and a lot more vaguely put than the TV shows. They know nobody reads. Trust me, I know. I came out with my first book this year. Hardly anyone's bought it. I know all about it. A Statue of Liberty Museum. Big tours and big goodbyes. Is somebody from Kiss about to die? See what happens to Kiss in 2019. More reboots. So more TV shows. Okay, great. The world not ending. Funny. It says if you are conspiracy minded. I think it should say more like if you're in the wrong branch of Christianity minded. It's the Christians that are always predicting the end of the world. I just had a guy call me up on the Gematria hotline to tell me that I need to be prepped for December 21st because it's going to be the end of the world. And I was like, well, it's going to be the end of the world. I don't know what I need to prep for. But pretty sure we'll live past December 21st. Pretty sure the world's not ending anytime soon, but the tyranny will keep going on and on and on. So it looks like 2019, the things we got to look forward to are video games, TV shows, and 3D printing. Can't wait. In case you missed the videos I put out earlier today, I just talked about how Saturn announced, or not Saturn, they might as well be Saturn. NASA, the agency that revolves around Saturn. Saturn announced on the I did it again. NASA announced on the first day of Saturnalia that Saturn's losing its rings. Saturnalia began December 17th. So date was 67. Numerology this year, ring 67. The majority of mainstream media covered the story December 18th. When you write out December 18th, it equals 93 like Saturn, plus in numerology, 18 is 1 plus 8 is 9. 12 is 1 plus 2 is 3, so the date can be 9/3. The majority of mainstream media covered this story December 18th. The New York Times seemed to be the only people who covered it the day NASA put out the news. But notice with the alphabetic order, rings is 67 to go with the date numerology. And then December 18th, date was 68 numerology, rings when you flip the alphabetic order around 68, planets 68 with the alphabetic order. So good day for news by the numbers. In the longer video I put out, which you should check out, I just talked about how Saturn's the 6th planet from the sun. When you add 1 through 6 together, it equals 21, like how Saturn's 21, Santa Claus is 21, Santa Claus in Sumerian Gematria is 666. Santa has the same letters as Satan. Saturn symbolizes Satan. Made the point about how Saturn's symbolized by the cube. Cube has 6 sides, like Saturn's the 6th planet from the sun. The word dice with the alphabetic order and the alphabetic order in numerology, both sum to 21. That's because dice is just made up of single-digit letters. D's 4, I's 9, C's 3, E's 5. But isn't that perfect? You had 1 through 6, 21, dice 21. Christmas, based on the pagan festival, bringing a tree in the house. Pagan and tree also 21. Pagans obsessed with astrology. The Bible is astrological stories retold. Saturn, one of 2 planets mentioned in the Bible, another 21. Jesuits also 21. Think about the history of the Catholic Church and the history of what's going on above. So, with all those 21s, no doubt that CNN paying tribute to Chris Farley's death 21 years later, not an accident. Not in the least. Put out a short video on this. You can check that out too. Showed the section of my book on Chris Farley's death at age 33, an age that numerology breaks down to 6. 3 plus 3 is 6. Again, Saturn, the 6th planet from the sun. Chris Farley dead from a drug overdose on his 307th day of his age, the 63rd prime. We just talked about the death of Sandra Locke and those same 2 numbers. Numbers that come together often. So I noticed that today was exactly 44 weeks from the Stoneman Douglas shooting. And I remembered that I called the Stoneman Douglas principal and left a voicemail about a week after the shooting. I wanted to know why in his public address he lied about how many students went to Stoneman Douglas. Showed this back when it happened. You can still watch the clip. He says that, he's here to hug all 3,300 students, but Stoneman Douglas, they didn't have 3,300 students. They had 2,900 and some students, which I looked up at the time. Where's those numbers at? I know I got them. So anyway, I'm going to try. Oh, here it is. The total enrollment at Stoneman Douglas was 2,972 at the time of the incident. And I thought it was so curious that he said, all 3,300 of you. I was thinking, 33. Where have I seen that number from before? Seems to show up in all these shootings. But I'm going to see if I can call and get through to the principal. And then I also remember Sheriff Scott Israel. I tried to call his office. He never got back. I'm wondering if these people will pick up the phone, because I got a few questions for him. You know, like I want to ask how this was put out as the evidence of the shooting at Stoneman Douglas. This was the most commonly shown image. You know, does this look like a laptop that really got shot to you guys, or does that look like the kind of stickers you put on your window, you know, to, I don't know, create the imagery? You know, Halloween, people put stickers up to make things look scary. It looks like that, right? Imagine shooting a laptop 3 times. You think it would look like that? I just thought of another good question. If he does answer, I can ask him about. Do you remember where the students were? Stoneman Douglas Holocaust Remembrance class. They said, oh, I gotta spell it right. They said the majority of the students shot and killed were in Holocaust Remembrance class. And it was room 1214. Which was just like the Sandy Hook school shooting date, December 14th. Hold on. I got to pull this up so when I call them, I can be on point here. Hold on. And then, oh yeah, David Hogg put out his book, and he called it Never Again, which is also the motto of the Holocaust and the Jewish Defense League. Of course, Stoneman Douglas is a very Jewish neighborhood. Shooting came on Yom Kippur Katan, related to, where's this post at? Why is it? Come on. Shouldn't it come up as one of the top posts? All right. Why is it? Okay. Here it is. So this was put out. An animation shows Parkland shooter school path. These green dots are where the majority of victims were shot. Notice room 1214. And if you watch this, they say it was Holocaust Remembrance class that they were killed in. So I want to ask him about all these things. Oh yeah, I want to ask him about this imagery too. Supposedly this is they also put this out on the media. This is the supposed one dead. You can see that it looks like a plastic dummy. There's no arms, completely all black, you know, even the face, just everything's one color. So I don't know about that. So hold on, let's get our questions ready. I'm banking on that we're going to get through and talk to the principal. And don't worry, I know just what to say if we get on the phone so that he'll listen. I'm going to let him know I'm trying to put these conspiracy theories to rest. Okay, let's see. Oh yeah, David Hogg's Never Again book. Okay, hold on. Let me make sure I got all my ducks in a row here. This conversation goes on long enough. I'll ask him about other things too. Remember the coward who didn't go in? Suppose his name was Scott Peterson, like the guy who murdered his family. All right, let's try giving the school a little call here. Let me make sure I'm still connected to the live stream, first of all. Okay, we're good. All right. Hold on. What's the principal's name again? Ty Thompson. TT. 322. You got to love it.
Time the school is closed. If this is an emergency, please contact the Office of School Performance and Accountability at 754-321-3838 between the hours of 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. or the Broward Schools Police Department at 754-321-0725. Our regular office hours are from 7 a.m. to...
Shoot. They're closed because of the winter break. Let me call that police department number they just gave. Yes, you're the Special Investigative Unit in the neighborhood of Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School.
Not in that neighborhood.
Well, I just called the school.
County.
I called the school, and your number was given since they were closed. You were something in the contact.
The after hours, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I am doing an investigation of what took place there on Valentine's Day. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you confirm that what the media reported is true? They said the majority of students who were shot that day were shot in room 1214, and it was Holocaust remembrance class. Is that factual?
I cannot.
Okay. Doesn't that sound kind of strange? Holocaust remembrance class in room 1214 in light of Sandy Hook being on the date 1214?
Yeah, that is a coincidence.
That's strange, isn't it? And then David Hogg, who's Jewish, put out the book called Never Again, which is the motto of the Holocaust. Doesn't that seem strange?
Yeah. That is.
It is strange. It is very strange. What else is strange about David Hogg? There's this Jewish practice of coding numbers into words. It's called Gematria. It's a Jewish practice. If you just take the alphabetic order, A's 1, B's 2, C's 3, up to Z is 26. If you write out English, if you write out the word English, if you write out the word Gematria, which is practice of coding numbers into words, if you write out Masonic, if you write out Jewish, if you write out holiday, if you write out Independence Day, they all sum to 74, kind of like this nation's birthday. If you write out the word Valentine, it sums to 102. And David Hogg's birthday is the 102nd day of the year, which I find real interesting because, you know, he was in the media multiple times and his statements that he made conflicted. One day he said he was there. Another day he said he wasn't actually there. And then I just think it's funny how he got all this time in the media and his dad's in the FBI and he gets to be the guy that writes the book and get this recognition. And then he went on Vice News and he made this comment about people who were questioning the shooting. He was going to outlive all of them. And I thought, that's a really weird thing to say. I mean, it almost sounds like he knows these people are going to be killed. So, you know, there's just some questions that need to be answered. I wanted to call, I've called the school a number of times and they've never gotten back to me. And I was thinking maybe over the break someone would pick up, but they're completely closed. I guess that shouldn't surprise me. So since you guys are the investigative unit, I thought maybe somebody there would have some answers. Have you ever seen the imagery that was put out, the two things that were shown redundantly in the media as proof of the shooting? Do you know what those two images are?
What is that?
Well, one is a laptop. They show a laptop on a student's desk. I encourage you to look up this image. It has, it looks like it has 3 white pieces of paper taped onto the screen. And when the media showed it, they said those were the terrifying bullet holes through the computer. And I'm thinking, if you shoot a computer monitor with a gun and you shoot it 3 times, that monitor is going to be all busted up, not just have 3 little white spots on them. So that doesn't look real at all. The other thing that's put out is you can, if you've ever done a CPR class, which I imagine you have, you know how you get the dummy that has no arms that you do the chest compressions on? That's the other image they show, a black torso with no arms and then a red thing by it, which, I mean, you can get the blood for the drills. If these are the 2 images that are proof of the shooting, and you're looking and you're seeing that, okay, this happened, and you know, I don't have anything against Jewish people, but it is an all-Jewish neighborhood. The media is Jewish. They're telling you it's Holocaust remembrance class. They're telling you that almost every kid shot was in room 1214 of Holocaust remembrance class. And then you have the Jewish spokesperson, David Hogg, titling the book Never Again. And you know, you start to look at all this and you go, what in the world is really going on? Because the one thing about some Jewish people is they go by the Talmud. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with this text, but if you're not, you should look it up. Talmud. Because in that text, M as in Mary? Tal, M as in Mary, U-D, Talmud. You should look up what's written in that book. It's not some Jewish people go by this book. It says that all non-Jews are not human beings. They're too dumb to be considered human. The purpose of the Jewish existence is to control the rest of humanity because they're an animal race. They're a slave race. The purpose of their existence is to work and labor so the Jew doesn't have to. Not all Jewish people go by this, but I have a strong feeling that the people responsible for this shooting sure go by it, and a lot of the stuff that's put out in the media. I'm going to continue to call this school and try to get to some answers to what really went on here, because something is definitely wrong. If they're going to show me images of, a laptop that's supposedly been shot 3 times that's hardly damaged, and a picture of a dummy that's used for chest compressions, and tell me that that's a victim, I'm nobody's fool, and I'm privy to some of the things going on in this world. So I appreciate you listening and taking notes. Means a lot. I will be calling the school back, and if you want to investigate this, I'd be grateful as well. So thank you so much.
Okay, have a good night, sir.
Yeah, you too. Take care. I like her. Sounds like a real investigator. Let me try calling Scott Israel. Or what's his name? Yeah, that is his name. Scott Israel. Reminds me how the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry is the most Jewish branch. Let's see where Scotty is. Remember, this was the sheriff's spokesperson when it all went down.
Hello, you have reached the office of Sheriff Scott Israel. No one is available to answer your call at this time. If this is an emergency, please hang up and dial 911. If you would like to leave a message for Sheriff Israel, please do so at the tone, and your call will be returned as soon as possible. Thank you.
Hey, this message is for Scott Israel. It's been nearly a year since I called. Still waiting for the call back. Got a lot of questions about what happened Valentine's Day at Stoneman Douglas High School. Since calling, there's been news media stories coming out about how the majority of victims were shot in room 1214, Holocaust Remembrance Class. And since that, David Hogg, who's Jewish, put out the book Never Again, which is the motto of the Jewish Defense League and the Holocaust. Never again, Very interesting stuff. Also, room 1214, isn't that a bit like December 14th, the day of the Sandy Hook school shooting? So anyway, Scott Israel. That name kind of reminds me of the Holocaust too. And I would love to hear Scott call in and explain how there's any evidence that this shooting ever even happened. Because all I've seen the media put out is a picture of a laptop with 3 white pieces of paper taped to the front of it. Maybe Scott Israel will be kind enough to shoot a laptop in front of us with his police-issued weapon 3 times, and let's see what the laptop really looks like. Guarantee it's going to look a lot different than the evidence of the Stoneman Douglas shooting. And the other evidence I've seen is the chest compression dummy, like you use in CPR class with the ketchup, next to its armless body. Why are these the props on display for the supposed shooting? And I've given Scott Israel about a year to call back. I guess that beep means it's the end of the call. But if it's still going, number to call back is 509-731-0567. Keep up the terrible work, Scott.
Thank you. Your message has reached its maximum duration. To send your message, press 3 or hang up. To delete your message has been sent. To access the voice portal, press the star key.
Okay. So, anyway. 19 kids. Remember the chaos number. Here we are on the 19th. Are we going to get through a day without a shooting? Guess just for just a few more reminders, it was the Dune Blaine massacre in the UK that got guns taken away. It was a massacre of first graders synced up with the Sandy Hook school shooting of first graders. From the Dune Blaine massacre to Sandy Hook was 6,120 days. The 612 is what's crucial. Dune Blaine massacre, 612. Columbine High School, 612. Orlando Strong, 612. From the Orlando shooting to the Stoneman Douglas shooting was 612 days later. Valentine in Sumerian Gematria, 612. Police, 612. You guys, most of you guys here have my book, so I'm sure you know all about it. Marjorie Stoneman Douglas is from the 612 area code, Minneapolis. Anyway, maybe someday I'll get the old principal on the phone to talk about it. Remember the very first thing when the news first broke, I made a short video. I said, why is the first image out of Stoneman Douglas reminiscent of the one image that came out of Sandy Hook? Children walking with arms on shoulders and looking like being led by a police officer who's dressed a lot like military. But right away, I pointed out how Sandy Hook Elementary School and Stoneman Douglas High School had the 113 thing going. Straight from the Talmud, Bava Kama 113a. It's okay for somebody who's Jewish to lie to somebody who isn't. So don't forget that other recent video game shooting in Florida. Came 193 days after Stoneman Douglas, the 44th prime, shooting 44, gunfire 44, news by the numbers. We got about 9 minutes left. Got to try to go an hour. We can wrap it up early today, or if anybody wants to phone in, the phone line is open. It's 509-731-0567. Again, 509-731-0567. Hold on. What do I need here? I need YouTube to get to the chat. There we go. Uh-oh. Oh, phew. Thought my computer froze. All righty. All right, Fermenti. Looks like Fermenti's making more customers. Miss Mildred, there's a woman in the world. Her name's Kathy. She thinks you and Crystal she'd like to be friends with. She gets the feeling you're all around the same age. And she's looking for like-minded people just to be able to communicate with her in her own life. She reached out to me. She called me on the Gematria hotline. She said, would you put the word out to Miss Mildred and Crystal that I'm looking for some friends in the world just to have like some phone pen pals. So I know both of you have my phone number. Send me a text message if you're interested in making friends with a woman who believes she's around the same age and has the same interests as you and just looking for friends. So just going to put that out there. There's Miss Mildred and Crystal. She sees you guys are active in the chat, so she knows you're into the truth. She's very into the truth. I'll give you a warning about this woman. When she calls and tells you that she needs 10 minutes of your time because she's got things to talk about, you better pencil in an hour and 10 minutes. But she's an interesting lady and she means well, and I appreciate her. But she doesn't have a lot of people to talk to like so many of us in the truth community. And again, she wants to make friends. Okay, Crystal, send me a text. No pressure if you don't want to, Miss Mildred. Just a woman. Oh, okay. Miss Mildred and Crystal, please both of you text me, and then I'll text her your guys' numbers. I don't remember your numbers off the top of my head, but if you text the Gematria line and say, hey, this is Crystal, hey, this is Miss Mildred, I will pass your numbers along. So I think she'll be very excited to hear that. Fermenti, I'm going to make an order. As soon as I end this thing, and I don't want you to send it to me for free. I've been meaning to make that order. I'm going to get that done today. Do not send it for free, friend. You do a lot already. I want to support your business. Plus, we eat a lot of fermented food, so having your stuff will be a great blessing for us. Happy to pay for it. Hey, Dan, when the next time this woman calls me, I'll say, hey, Dan wants to know if he can be friends too. She'll probably be happy to be friends. And I'll let her know Dan's reliable. Dan's been around for a long time. So Well, I know where your website is for Menti. I'll make the order the way I need to. All right, you guys. Well, I think we can wrap it up here for today. Every episode doesn't have to be quite an hour. Time's valuable, especially this time of year. So we'll call it a day. We'll be back tomorrow, and appreciate all of you again. So have a great rest of your day or evening. Until next time.